Happy Monday, guys. I am excited to be here, starting this week off again with you. First of all, update on my sugar challenge. I did manage to wait until October 1st to have the processed added sugar I was avoiding, which was pretty cool, and I am glad that I did that. I think I actually am going to do it again, but we'll talk more about that on Thursday. For today, our mindset challenge is to focus on improvement instead of perfection. Truthfully, I think perfection is BS, and this is supposed to be a kid-friendly show, so I'm not going to say that whole word, but it's just not realistic. There is not a human on this planet that is perfect, and that's okay. That's a good thing. That means we all have the opportunity and the chance to get better every day. So when you are looking at your goals and you are looking at your challenges, focusing on improvement gives you that much more to celebrate. If you make it through one whole day without resorting to something that you're trying to avoid, celebrate. Be excited about that. Be happy about that. Give yourself a moment to just be amazed at how much you have changed your life for that day. You know, that's okay. You're supposed to celebrate these things. When you accomplish something and ignore it, you lose the motivation to keep going. Eventually, you're so focused on, okay, whatever, but what do I do next? That you fail to recognize how far you've come. And that's a huge motivator, how far you've come. So definitely focus on improvement, not perfection. And where that translates into what we're doing, it really applies to our kids too. We cannot expect our kids to be perfect. And everybody says, of course they're not perfect, they're kids, you know, I don't expect that. But the way that we sometimes treat them, it's as if we do expect perfection. You know, our kids aren't allowed to have a bad day. They're not allowed to have a bad attitude. They're not allowed to use that tone of voice. They're not allowed to say those words. Whatever it is. And yes, those lessons are going to be important to teach them, but they don't require us to flip our lid. We can teach them, you know, you are really struggling with some emotions right now. The right way to handle that is XYZ. You know, going and calming down for a bit, reading a book, going for a walk, depending on age, obviously, changing the scenery, all of those things. Speaking of lack of perfection, you can hear my kiddos upstairs, probably, bickering. They are in a wrestling mood today, which is challenging for me because I don't want them to kill each other, but they have fun for the majority of the time, so I have to kind of step back and just be like, okay, go for it. But anyways, I've learned that a lot of parents beat themselves up because they had a bad day or a bad moment. And something that I learned that was really very powerful for me is that in this endeavor, when you're working to parent better and you're working to create a better bond and relationship with your child, if you can get it right 1/3 of the time, 1/3, your kids are going to be great. They're going to look back on their childhood and think, I had a damn good childhood. Yeah, there I go with those words. And that's something to focus on. This is about improving. This is about saying, I made a mistake, what can I do differently? And doing the same thing with our kids. You know, you made a mistake. What are you going to do next time to make it different? How are you going to fix this mistake? Mistakes are 100% of the time going to happen. Always and forever, we will make mistakes and our kids will make mistakes. So reacting as if it's a shocking, horrifying thing isn't really necessary. It's okay to just be like, that sucks, dude. That was a bad choice. What are we going to do to make it better? And there is a lesson in that. There's a lesson in you as the adult being comfortable with the fact that mistakes happen and helping them learn how to either make the mistake better or move forward from that and not do it again. And guess what? Most kids, especially in the age range that we're typically talking about between 1 and 4, they're going to make the same mistake hundreds of times. That doesn't mean you're not doing your job. That doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. That doesn't mean they're doing anything fundamentally wrong. It's how the brain works. In order to create a neural pathway, the same lesson has to be applied over and over again. And it doesn't need to be an aggressive or a violent lesson. In fact, when children are scared, their brains are bathed in cortisol and they can't form the neural pathways. It's after the fact when you sit down and talk with them and you explain and you have them role play and you teach them in a connected fashion, that's when the neural pathways start connecting. And just like kids don't learn to read overnight, and they don't learn to potty train overnight, unless they're an anomaly. Sorry, that just cut out a little bit. They don't learn to walk overnight. There's all kinds of skills that we understand and expect are going to take them time to learn. It's the same thing in your day-to-day life. Your kid is going to need a lot of repetition and a lot of practice to learn how to keep his hands to himself when he's angry. Your kid is going to need a lot of repetition and a lot of practice to learn how to not scream and yell when he's angry. And the repetition and the practice that builds the neural pathways the fastest is when you stay calm, you help them recognize their problem, and you help them come up with a solution. So that's why we talk about improvement and not perfection. It really is a pointless goal to expect you to be a perfect parent or your kid to be a perfect kid. And so if we can just focus on improvement, maybe your kid goes, a whole week without having that bad tone. That's awesome. Recognize that. Let them know, I know you're working really hard on this. You've gone, 5 days without having a sassy tone with me. I really appreciate how hard you're working. That doesn't mean they'll never have a bad tone again, but they're improving, and that is something to celebrate. This goes across all things, across the board, in school, out of school, at your job, with your family, with your husband or wife, all across the board. Focusing on improvement is going to inspire you to keep doing better and keep working for better and higher goals. Focusing on perfection is going to make you feel like a failure and want to quit. And it's the same for our kids. So that is our mindset focus for this week. I would love to hear what things you have improved on, what achievements you have made, even if they feel very small. Let's celebrate them. Let's share them and celebrate them. I'm also very excited to tell you that I am starting a private group for the moms here on this page so that we can have real-time conversations, and if you have a question or a concern, you can post in that group and I will be able to answer you directly. So if you want that link, let me know and comment below or PM me and I will give it to you. Thanks for hopping on, mamas, and I will see you tomorrow.